morning, good morning, good morning. People of the realm, I just want to get on and give some thoughts about things going on, why we have this anti-white rhetoric, why we have all of this nonsense, the two-tier system, everything else. What is the end result? Why the chaos? Why the mass imports? Why the low-quality mass imports? Why the promotion of one ideology over another? What are they playing at, and what do they hope to achieve? So, here's what I think is going on. Communism. That's it. That's the end of the broadcast. Not really. So the idea is what is going on at the minute is to create as much social division and chaos as possible. Pit one side against the other. I think a lot of people talk about whether we're going to have a civil war. I think it could be like a holy war rather than a civil war, or an ethnic war. And I think that's what they want. It's deliberate, it's by design. They're doing it on purpose. And the idea is that you create enough social problem and enough social chaos that you come in and you say, well, look, you're ethnically fighting, so your ethnic sensibilities don't work. And it looks like it's kind of religious too, so your religions aren't working either. But I have the answer, and the answer is here. It's communism. Marx had the answer. Marx saw all this coming, and he tried to warn us all, and he tried to tell us that this is what would happen. And they'll try and pass it off as some sort of natural event, but we know it's not. It's man-made. It's deliberate. It is state-sponsored, and it's globalist-sponsored. Globalism, communism. We should stop calling it globalism. We should just call it communism, because that's exactly what it is. It's communism in suits. It's soft communism for the West. That's what it is. And that is what they want. They want a war. They want the chaos. And they want us to react. Now, the ordinary indigenous population of the United Kingdom is being manipulated, as is the Muslim population. There's no way that nobody in their right mind would impose the restrictions and the laws and the cultural degradation that we're seeing in this country against the native population. They wouldn't do that without expecting retaliation. Again, not especially against a hardened war nation like the British. It's deliberate. They're looking for provocation. Off the back of the provocation, there is chaos. The chaos, they then legislate and introduce the communist answer. Now, who's behind all of this? Well, I don't think you have to look very far to find that it's funded by left-wing NGOs. It's funded by Soros. It's funded by the Russians, who are backed by the Chinese. The Russians are running migrant routes into the United Kingdom, essentially as a punishment for our involvement with Ukraine. The Chinese are pushing a lot of this. They're allowing a lot of this to happen. They're directly influencing people to make this happen. And what do we do about it? What can we do about it? Well, in a sense, not a lot. In that sense, in terms of, can you do something that will instigate a change tomorrow? Probably not. Can you do something that will instigate a change in a year, 18 months? Yes, I think you can. I think the groundwork of that you're going to have to lay. Now, there's a lot of talk going on about the cultures being erased. We need to get back, and there's a lot of people looking at British values. What are the values? The nuclear family, fairness, meritocracy, all of this. They're looking back at the empire. They're looking back at a time when Britain was a much stronger nation, when the English had much more pride, and they're emulating the surface manifestations of something that actually runs much deeper. And that's fine, and that's good, and that's nice. But they're all missing the fundamental point. And the one fundamental point is that all of this came from the spirituality of the English. I've talked about this since the very beginning. It's the spirituality. If you don't connect to the spiritual root, then we're kind of knackered, because nothing can sustain, and we will not survive the onslaught that's coming at us, because it is spiritual. The other side is spiritual in all means of the word. Communism is a religion. It's a religious cult. It is a dark spiritual ideology. And unless we begin connecting with this spiritual root, we're screwed. We cannot win. Anyone who looks into civil war theory knows that it's generally the religious side that wins. am I saying we all have to convert to Christianity and become Catholics and go to church? No, I don't think I don't subscribe to that. I think if you can do that, I think that's brilliant and that's great. But I know a lot of people have a difficulty with religion. They have difficulty with Catholicism because of the touchy-feely priests. They have difficulty with the Church of England because of the wokeness. So I get that. I truly understand all of that. But I think you do have to have faith in the Creator. And the reason is because you're connecting yourself to a different root, to a different wellspring. Now, if you're already ontological, you're already looking at this from an ontological point of view, and you're imbibing yourself in the mythos and in the ontological impulse of the English, then you're actually already in that. You're already in that vein, you're already in that stream. And if you're already in that and self-classify yourself as atheist, well, you're probably not an atheist. You probably just haven't admitted to yourself as such. But when you connect yourself to that root, your thought structure changes. You go from a grid-like thought structure. Someone like Andrew Tate talks about the matrix. Andrew Tate has a matrix-style mindset. He has a grid-like mindset. You change from a grid-like mindset into an ontological mindset. You start getting metaphysical wisdom. And that wisdom changes how you act. It changes everything about you. It changes how people react to you. And you have to live this to see it. It's something you have to experience. And I think that's something we can all do. We can all just say, okay, right. It's a long shot, Is there a Sky Father? Is there a Deus, a Zeus? Is there an Odin? I'm not so sure. I don't know. It seems a bit far-fetched. But maybe there is something at the heart of the universe that drives everything, that manifests to us in a symbol and in a sign and in an image that we can accept and wrap our tiny, puny human brains around. And that is, in a sense, a manifestation of the compassion of whatever it is that created this whole rodeo. So I think you can do that. You can just say, okay, let's give it a shot. There you go. I'll give you a shot. Put me in your guidance and let's see what happens. That's entirely possible and entirely reasonable to kind of do. And I think that's initially all that's needed. How far you take it after that is up to yourself. And that's, I think, the biggest thing we can do immediately straight away. Long term, look, we know we need mass political change. I think we have to drop the party mindset and we'd have to vote for whoever we think is in the best interests of our country. And that's a personal matter. That's up to you as an individual to choose who you're going to choose. But, we are aware that we do need change. We definitely need change in this country. And I think we've got 1 to 2 election cycles to make that change. I think the next election cycle will see a lot of sectarian division, but I think the government that hopefully wins the next election cycle will make a lot of positive change that will actually pretty much strip the country of the interest for that sectarian division, and it'll drift away. I think that's what will happen. But what is driving this, and what is it that they are actually after? They are after a holy civil war. 100%. We need to be careful that innocent people don't get caught in the crossfire. You have to remember that all the people that get imported aren't the same. There are high culture Asian and Middle East countries, and there are low culture Asian and Middle East countries. And unfortunately, a lot of the people that they import into this country are essentially banned from a lot of the high culture countries in the Middle East. Now, is the Middle East compatible with our culture? Not really. Never has been. And it's never wanted to be either. We never wanted it to be compatible with us, and they never wanted us to be compatible with them. We met in the middle. We overlapped where we could, and then we diverged where we felt it was necessary, and it's always been that way. And it will go back to being that way. The only people who are trying to force the oil and the water together are the communists, and they will manipulate everybody. Now, there's an interesting document that either was or still is in the British Museum, and it's apparently written by a high-ranking Freemason over 100 years ago, Albert Pike, I believe it was. And in it, he talked about how the goal was to, now I don't know whether he wrote this as like a sneering condemnation or some sort of a warning like Orwell did, but in it, he wrote about how they would use Christianity and Islam to essentially exhaust each other. And then they would bring in communism as the the guiding light, the answer to everything. And then on the back of communism, they would bring in a new, depending on how you understand it, either Luciferic or satanic religion. And communism is satanic. If you dig into the roots of it, it's rooted in Satanism. Marx himself was a practicing Satanist, and many high-ranking communist leaders and officials were also Satanists, and that's like historical evidence. You can go and find that for yourself. As much as it's hidden, that is historical evidence. So a lot of people consider this document by Albert Pike to be potentially a fake, and I think it could actually potentially be a fake. However, that is what they are carrying out. It's almost like it doesn't matter whether it's real or not, because that's exactly what they're doing. And we've seen this with a few other things. It's like, well, it doesn't matter whether you think it is a giant conspiracy, an anti-white rhetoric, or otherwise. The end result that they're aiming for is exactly what people are claiming it is. So it doesn't necessarily make the document true, but it does kind of make what they're trying visible. And you can see it. You can see what they're actually going for. So, yes, I think we need to stand fast. I think we need to understand the nature of what's going on. We need to understand that we're going to be blitzkrieged by a million short-range, high-shock tactic events to destabilize us. I think, even the Muslim friends that I have are telling us, look, they've got terror cells all over Europe. Like, they know, these people know, and they're in horror themselves. They don't know what they can do about it, because it'll directly put their families in danger. They'll have their houses burned and their wives and daughters raped and all the rest of it. So they kind of don't know what they should do about it, but they know it's there. And our governments have done this, and I personally think some of them should visit the Tower of London and the long drop off a short rope. So they are going to try and bait us. They are going to try and get us to react and to create this chaos. And it's only going to take one area. It'll only take one area. Like if Hare Hills went any further, or Southport went any further, then you'd see it spread nationwide. And I think the government would actually struggle to clamp down on it. Our best hope is civil disobedience, perhaps, or mass protests, enough protests to push the government out. Which happened in 1979. People forget the Labour Party doesn't have a triggering method like the Conservatives do, but they can step down and trigger an election, which they did do in 1979, and that's how we got Thatcher. And for all of her faults, she also had some positives and probably stopped the rot that was occurring in the 1970s, which was dreadful. 1970s was almost as bad as it is now. In some instances, they've gone further with the loss of power and things, and we're not very far away from that. I do think that our guiding light is the United States. Now, America is essentially Athens to China's Atlantis, if you take the tale of Plato. And I think they will occupy that position. They will liberate the West. They will not tolerate for the West falling on their watch. They definitely won't tolerate for the United Kingdom falling on their watch. We just have to hope that we can have some sort of prime minister come in that fights for our interests. We lost all of our interests after the war, mainly to the United States, and that needs to be reversed at speed. So I don't think they're going to get as far as they want to go with this. I don't think the United States will allow it. Now, whether that's a mass data dump of information about our leaders that pushes them out of office, I don't know, or whether it's just they openly in the media support people pushing back and creating marches, creating these things to march on the Capitol and destabilize things until the government resigns. I don't really know, but I know that they're not going to last. That's my overall gut instinct, is that this Labour administration is not going to last. I don't think Starmer's going to last a year the way he's going on. He's certainly doing the best that he can to make an enemy of the United States and Donald Trump, which is a very foolish thing to do, given the stay and the hold that Trump has over the United Kingdom. So this is what I think is going on. I think they're trying to bait us a war to bring in communism. I think we need to reconnect with our getting into all of the history and all of the surface manifestations of our culture is excellent, and I applaud anybody who does that genuinely. But we need to go deeper. We will not survive this if we do not go deeper. Civil divisions and civil conflicts like this are always won by the side that has the deepest spiritual root. That has to be us. That has to be us. And I don't care how you go about doing it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You just need to connect. You need to connect to that root. And all the greatness will flow forth from there. So listen, have a great day. Be as English as possible, old boys. If you haven't called somebody old chap by the end of the day, I think you should be questioning your right to have a passport. And yes, look, we have this. We're the English, okay? We're made of tougher stuff than most nations. We just need to believe that we've got it again. All right, have a great day.